Testing. Be about.
Welcome.
Kia ora everybody and welcome to the Tournament of the Wolf. This is the New Zealand qualifier for the New Zealand team, the New Zealand Steel Blacks. Our first, we've had a change of the schedule. The Night Marshal has ruled that it's very hot, so we want to make sure that our fighters are safe and their welfare is looked after at all times. So first up will be Maddie from Tauranga. She will be fighting Jess from Wellington. Our Night Marshal for the event is Edward Sad Root Dinoff. He will be in charge of everything as we go through. For those people who aren't familiar with HMB, HMB stands for Historical Medieval Battle. It's full contact combat sport fighting that allows a wide range of both striking and grappling techniques and involves the use of armour and weapons. In HMB, various permitted techniques are highly regulated to minimise permanent or severe physical damage to each participant. In HMB, there's always multiple referees called marshals. You can see the people on the outside, they're in yellow, they're the line marshals, and then everything is controlled by the Night Marshal, who is the man in the middle with the flag. He's just checking everything. Maddie and Jess, they're ready to go. And here we go. Some good strikes to Maddie from Jess. Oh, nice. It's a very nice strike. So this is ProFight. You can hear the crowd is supporting Jess. Kicks are allowed. Fight will be out of 2 rounds. So Jess is showing list dominance here. She is making sure that she has Maddie in the corner. The marshals will be scoring points to Jess for that. When they get into the grapple like this, you can see that both fighters will be going for dominance. Jess went for a grapple, went for a throw. Edward's in the action, making sure that both the fighters are doing a clean fight. With the fight, both participants are trying to score points. There's points for striking, but they must be of full power. Edward is making sure that Maddie is safe while she's in the grapple with Jess. Jess is trying to tire Maddie out. She's pushing her into the list. You can see Edward counting. Good shield punch to the head of Maddie by Jess. Cool, stop fight. Both fighters now will go back to their corners. Their corner people will make sure that the fighters have water, that they're suitably prepared. They also make sure they look for any armour failures. Each corner person will be looked after by a marshal as well. We're here in Petone in McEwan Park. It's a very hot day here in New Zealand. My name's Dana Bergen-Wyman. I'll be your commentator today. To continue on with HMB, the weapons used are made to be non-lethal by means of modifying the striking portions of the weapon and requiring participants to wear protective clothing and armour. In HMB, the results are not predetermined in advance. To win, all the fighters are required to compete with an appropriate level of determination and proper technique to overcome their opponents. Edward is calling the fighters back into the centre of the list, and we're back into the action. So this is Jess in the orange and black from Wellington versus Maddie in the Eastern kit from Tauranga. First fight of ProFight for today. So again, Jess is pushing, going for list dominance over Maddie into the grapple, allowing Maddie to go a good shield punch to Jess, keeping her at range, punching with the shield punch, and then trying to score some points with the falchion. Headbutt from Maddie onto Jess. Some kicks to the legs. Again, in order to score points, the marshals will only declare the points to the fighters if they are full force. You can see if both fighters are sizing each other up, where best to spend the energy. Ah, good takedown. So Jess is allowed 10 seconds to punch. There we go. Edward's now making them break. Maddie now has a check. Edward has declared a yellow card to Jess because she struck to the back of the neck of Maddie. So Jess was allowed to strike Maddie while she was on the ground. However, Jess was not clean with her strikes. So no strikes to the back of the neck, no strikes down the spine, no strikes to the groin, back of the knees. All right. Edward's bringing them back in, just making sure that why she's been given a yellow card. So a yellow card means Jess gets a penalty. A red card means that she will leave the tournament. Edward's making sure that Jess understands that so you don't do it again. Bringing them back in. Here we go again. Second round. Continuation. Some more list dominance by Jess. Both fighters, so Maddie's trying to fight her way out of the grapple. She's trying to get out so she can score some strikes on Jess. There we go. Maddie's got untangled. The weapons are not sharp. They, oh, here goes. So still in the grapple. Headbutting from Maddie to Jess. Time. So it's the end of the second round. Both fighters will return to their corners. Their corners will check on them, make sure they're okay. Line marshals will give their scores to the night marshal, to Edward. Edward will bring the fighters back in and raise the hand of the winner. So doing some repairs from the list because both fighters have been pushing on the list. Now need to make sure that the lifts are safe. It's the first fight of the New Zealand ProFight Qualifiers down here at McEwan Park in Petone. The fighters are fighting for qualification to the New Zealand Steel Blacks team. The team is headed to the Battle of the Nations 2nd to the 5th of June 2022 in Romania. We hope, if we can travel. We very much hope we can travel. We have a range of fighters. We also have a change from our regular schedule. So we've just had the fight for Maddie and Jess. We've got Brooke versus Ben coming up. Edward's calling fighters to the middle. He will now declare who the winner is. Jess. Winner is Jess. Okay, so next up is Brooke and Ben. Jess and Maddie will clear out. After that, we've got Sam and Maddie. So Jess will go back to the fighters area. Maddie won't go far because she's then up next to Sam. So next up we've got, coming into the list will be Brooke. He's from Manawatu Armoured Combat. This is Brooke's first time as a fighter. He'll be up against Ben. Ben has represented New Zealand previously in 2018 in Scotland. So we're watching someone who's got a relatively new experience versus someone who is a veteran in the New Zealand sport. Ben is from the local club FELAG. For those people who are wondering, FELAG means Fellowship in Old Norse. And Manawatu Armoured Combat is based in Palmerston North. We have a range of fighters from up and down New Zealand. We are very proud and happy to be supported by Cello Sport, who made this all possible. We also have a little bit of a crowd gathering here in McEwan Park. It is very sunny, so everyone's looking for shade. We hope you're enjoying the live stream here, wherever you are joining us from. Right, Brooke enters the list first. He is in green and white. He's been checked over by our Night Marshal, Edward. Same weapon set again. Both fighters have chosen to fight with falchion and punch shield. They'll be giving, they will be scored points for takedowns, throws, finishings. They also get points if they manage to disarm their opponents. They will be scored points if they can punch with a combat part of a weapon, punch with a handle, punch with an arm, punch with a shield, punch with a fist, elbow, kick, punch with a head. But again, as you saw from the last fight, no strikes to the neck, particularly the back of the neck, down the spine, groin. Those areas are prohibited. I'm joined by Mark from Cello Sport. Mark, what do you think?
Oh, hi Dana, thanks for having me, and thanks for having Cello Sport along. It's obviously a new experience for us, but we're really delighted to be able to showcase, I guess, sports that people wouldn't normally be able to have a look at. So certainly fascinating. I've got a few questions as we go.
Excellent.
Yeah, but so far your take on that first match?
I think it's the first tournament nerves.
Yeah.
There was a good lot of grappling, really good list dominance by Jess.
Yeah.
Maddie did well to fight back.
They clearly have a narrow field of vision with very small eye slots, so that obviously impacts how quickly they can move around. And
That's right. So Edward is bringing the fighters. Again, he's making sure that everyone remembers not to hit prohibited areas, but also just to remind the folks that once a fighter hits the ground, that's not the end of the fight. 10 seconds. First round, Brooke from Manawatu versus Ben from Wellington.
Ben in the orange?
Ben in the orange and black, and Brooke in the white and green. Both, so these are super heavyweights. So these will be
quite big blows, heavy contact.
Blows, that's right.
The choice of a very small shield from the Manawatu fighter?
Yeah, so Brooke's fighting with a buckler, a falchion and buckler, which means he's got a lot of, and there we go, he's got a lot of aggression and manoeuvrability. Ben has chosen a punch shield and falchion.
So the shield is a weapon as much as it is a protective device.
That's right. You can score, but you can't. You've got to score points when you use full force with the shield. Both of them. See, Brooke just did a punch to Ben's head. That is loud. Yeah. Good knee kick from Brooke.
Good heavy blows. Yeah. So comparing the fights, Maddie and Jess, very technical. Yeah.
These two are pushing the list.
Yeah.
Edward's
are they required to break if they grapple like other competitive boxing sports, for example, or are they encouraged? They can continue a grapple.
They can continue. The night marshal is in charge of controlling the fight. So if Edward sees something that he thinks is dangerous, he'll put the flag in the middle. He'll call a stop fight. So far, he's
beautiful manoeuvre.
Spinning back falchion strike from Brooke to Ben. Ben responds with a punch to both of them punching straight to the face. Good list dominance by Brooke. Ben is now trying to push him around. He'll go to the corner. He'll try and go for the throw. Watch their legs.
Yeah.
Brooke managed to break, get out of distance. Stop fight. All right. So they've called the time. That's first round down. Both fighters back to their corners. It's one of the things about when you're watching from home. You'll see that the fighters are trying really hard they've got to not only look at how far they're going with their fighting, but they also have to conserve their energy. Yeah.
Is heat the major factor here with the exhaustion?
So
in the armour?
A lot of the the average weight of armour, so some kit can weigh less, some kit can weigh more. You're looking at about 20 kgs of equipment, so everyone's doing really well. This here is a New Zealand qualifier, so we're trying to replicate international conditions as close as possible.
Right.
So the fighters will, so this is us putting them under combat stress. Yep. Anna is calling 10, so this round will start in 10 seconds.
And it's a 2-round contest?
2-round contest. It's a points must win system. Very rare to get a draw. We are running the Donjong Cup scoring system, so dead heat is excluded.
Right. So there must be a winner.
There must be a winner.
And how are you picking that first round?
So I would pick that first round to Brooke because he scored more fights.
That's more direct contact hits with full force blows? More
direct contact hit. Ben did manage to push Edward round in the list, but I don't think he had the dominance that Brooke had.
Right.
Next up, Edward will bring, looks like Ben has an armour failure, so he has 1 minute to get that fixed.
Right.
We've got our on-site armourer there, that appears to be fixed. Edward's happy, he's bringing them, nope. Next round, Edward's bringing them back in.
Do points accumulate across rounds, or do you win a round then win another round?
You win a round then win another round.
Right. But if they win one each, they can have a...
Well, it's very rare. So this is all up to the line marshals, unless somebody taps out. So this is where you never to leave it in the hands of the marshal. You've got to have a clear win.
Yeah.
Again, both good shield punches from both of them. You can see that Brooke with his buckler has more manoeuvrability than Ben, but Ben can push Brooke around with that punch shield if he can get round. Both fighters sizing each other up. I'm pretty sure they're going to go for, Brooke's going for a kick because there was distance between them. Ben will probably try and go for a takedown and throw, try and get some points back.
Yep.
Because I don't think that first round went
well
Ben's way. Yeah, so
he needs a definitive result in the second round too.
You do, yeah. Good heavy punching.
Brooke certainly is still the aggressor moving forward.
That's right. So Ben has some more catching up to do. He's being pulled in the corner by Brooke, which means Brooke's controlling the list. Good list dominance by Brooke.
Excellent.
You're being encouraged by Edward because you're not allowed to, you lose points if you are timid in the fight. Right. So Edward has encouraged them to engage. They've got a job, they know their job, they've got to do that. Yeah.
Is there a situation where you see a single knockout blow, or is it just an accumulation of contact?
It's an accumulation of contact. It is very, very rare that you get one singular outlying punch or kick. Doesn't mean that doesn't happen, but it's generally because of the equipment. You can see that Ben's taking all those punches from Brooke, but he will be fine. His arm is protecting him, and his they've got full face protection underneath there.
Yeah.
Ben's trying to keep Brooke at distance. Brooke's going for another kick. There we go. Big punch from Brooke.
Yeah, really solid contact there.
Very solid contact. They're just trading blows now. Time. Second round down. So now back to their corners.
That's the end of the match.
That's the end of the match.
And
so
you're calling it for Brooke?
I'm calling it for Brooke at this stage. It's always something that everything that we could have everything in our thoughts, but it's always up to the marshals. The marshals control the fight. They're highly trained. They know what they're doing. They're impartial. So those people in yellow, they are the marshals.
Mm-hmm.
They will be totaling up the points from the line, bring it through to Edward. If there's any discrepancies between what the line marshals see, it's up to Edward as the night marshal to decide these things.
Right. And so the process of understanding who's the winner can take a few minutes. It's because there's an element of subjectivity to it, and they will discuss the results.
Yeah, exactly. So we're all human. So what one line marshal sees, the other line marshal may not see. But generally, they come to agreement because they're all consummate professionals.
Yeah.
You can. So what the other thing that defined this fight is that there was armour failure. So you have 1 minute to fix your armour failure. After that, then you forfeit the fight. Which means that when you go in, you get your kit checked for authenticity and safety before you even step into the list. It's all safety. We all want to keep fighting and keep doing the sport. So once you've got your safety approved, your corner person will also keep a lookout for you as well.
Right.
They're just checking Ben's kit.
So is armour failure, if it's caused by the opponent, a point for the opponent, or is it?
Yeah, so if there's equipment breakage that equipment breakage is something that you could have prevented, then 3 points goes to your opponent.
Right.
Edward's pulling them into the middle. We'll hear the decision soon. Third round. All right. So this is it. This is sudden death. Ben is enjoying himself. He knows that this is sudden death. This is everything in it. There's got to be a
big final round from Ben.
Big final round.
Does that indicate that potentially the first rounds were split?
I think so. It's the marshals must have made that decision.
Yeah.
Again, Brooke is pushing Ben. Ben is pushing back. Good knee kick to the ribs by Brooke.
Have these two fought before?
No, this is the first time.
Right.
So many of these fighters, this is the first time they've done their match-up. Again, it's very technical when you're getting the grapple. They're not just hugging. They are looking for dominance to see who will be able to throw their opponent.
Yeah.
It's also very tiring if you hang on to somebody because they have to keep you up.
Yeah.
They'll be looking for, once they do throw an opponent, ground and pound. Big strike by Brooke. Ben is on the defensive. Yeah, okay. Ben is trying to survive here. He's in the corner.
Oh.
There we go. Another back falchion strike by Brooke. Okay, so all right. So Ben is just looking to survive this. He's pushing Brooke, but still Brooke is good with those knee kicks. It appears to be his favourite thing to do at the moment.
Is. A couple of big lads pushing each other around here, so
That's right.
Pretty tiring in this heat.
All fighters, regardless of their outcome, do very well. We're all very proud of them here in New Zealand. 10 seconds to go. Excellent strike from Brooke to Ben, scoring points, just wailing. Edward has called it stop fight. There we go.
Looks
Fighters
like
back to the corner.
A comfortable third round for Brooke.
A comfortable third round for Brooke. Their corner people will take their helmets off, bring them back into the middle. But yeah, in my personal opinion, but all fighters, regardless of their status, do very well. We acknowledge them in this sport. This is not an easy sport to do.
It requires a certain amount of bravery.
It does require a certain amount of foolhardy bravery, yes indeed.
Yes. Looks good to see them come out looking unscathed. Obviously they're going to be tired. Do they
Right.
pull up with a few niggles and bumps and bruises?
They do. We have on-site paramedics, so fighter welfare is paramount. So anything serious will be taken care of. But as you can see, both fighters, while tired, are intact, no bleeding.
Yes.
and they're waving to each other. So again, friendship, boo-hurt friendship.
Will there be other contests today in this weight division, or will these fighters fight again today?
So after we've finished our formal schedule, we go down to fun challenge fights. So these two may challenge each other again. Edwards bring them in. Winner, Brooke. Well
18-0.
18-0.
Reflecting the dominance we could see there.
Very much so.
Yeah, Ben looked
And now a hug.
a little unhappy
How
with the
awesome
score,
is
and
that?
you think he might challenge him in a fun fight later to get a little bit of revenge?
I think they will. I think there's some drinks on the line here.
And so you mentioned that it was a qualification day. There's a preparation for an event overseas at some point. It's a World Championship, is that right?
That's right. So it's Battle of the Nations, 2nd to the 5th of June in Romania. We will be fighting at Outrance Fortress. This is an event that is done through Historical Medieval Battle International Association. They put everything on, they support us. They also design the rules for the sport that we follow. So these fighters are fighting for their place in the New Zealand Steel Blacks team, going overseas to participate in that event, Nations. Represent New Zealand.
And do we fight as a team for New Zealand over there, or are there individual competitions also?
So individual, there's ProFight, which will be this. There's the duels, which is the 1v1 category, and then there's the group fights, which is the boo-hurt fights. That's 5v5, 10v10, 20v20, 30v30.
Really?
And then the big one is the all-v-all. So that's men's division and women's division. So New Zealand will be trying to field its first New Zealand women's team, as well as we've fielded a 5v5 teams before. And then when we get involved in the bigger boo-hurt fights, we always make a friendly alliance with Australia. We become an ANZAC team. And then we do the Tri-Nations. We always, from Australia, when we make a friendly team with China, so it'll be New Zealand, Australia and China. We always, South Pacific, we stick together.
Excellent. And that's for the group fights?
That's for the group fights, that's
Excellent.
Right. Yeah. So next up we've got Sam from Manawatu Armoured Combat versus Maddie. You saw Maddie fight in the first fight.
So Maddie's straight back out there?
Maddie is straight back out there, so even though she lost against Jess, she's had a rest now that Brooke and Ben have been fighting. Yep. So Maddie is a veteran fighter from Tauranga. She comes from Tauranga Armoured Combat. She's been fighting for 5 years in New Zealand. This is Sam's first ever pro fight. So this is Sam's first ever year as fighting.
So she's up against it.
She is up against it,
Maddie.
and fantastic. All power to her. So this is fantastic work for both of them. So Sam comes from Manawatu Armoured Combat, fighting by way of Palmerston North. Edwards just making sure that again, because she's this is her first time, he's making sure that she's got everything in her equipment.
With this being her debut,
This is her debut.
She will have sparred or had some practice matches, or will it very much just been technical training? And
So there's been a combination of technical training and boot camp. So Manawatu Armoured Combat over the Christmas holidays had a boot camp. It was well attended. So that's when people got to learn skills and looked after by Palmerston North. Edward is bringing them through, fighters to the middle.
so we've got
Sam, she's in the orange and black.
with the axe.
And we've got Maddie, she's in the eastern kit with the falchion and punch shield. So you can see with the difference of weapons, so Sam has a lot of ability to deal a lot of damage to Maddie, and as you can see, her ability to be defensive is quite limited.
Sure.
So she gets tied up. So Sam's job
The choice to not have a defensive weapon, is that common?
it is common, but it means that Sam really does have to work to get around Maddie. And also Maddie has to work to defend herself against Sam quite often. So again, this will be a technical fight, and as you can see, what we were saying before with the fighters not being able to see much, when Sam misses, it's because Maddie is stepping out of range, so Sam has to close.
Right.
The moment they're trading blows. There we go. That's a good strike from
Yeah,
Maddie
very good strike.
onto Sam. Oh, there we go. There's something happened there. So that's a loss of weapon.
So dropping to the knee is because of the loss of weapon, or it is because of a potential injury?
We will see. I think it's a loss of weapon. The points will go to Maddie, Edward checked, make sure, they go back to their corners just to make sure, but maybe there's an injury, we'll just make sure.
Loss of mouth guard.
So there has been, so it looks like her mouth guard has been
dislodged,
yeah.
There was a strong connection to the helmet there, wasn't there?
There was.
She looks okay.
So her support team are now going fine, but again, time is ticking down.
So time doesn't stop for it. This is an equipment malfunction, as we saw previously.
I think this will be an equipment malfunction again. This is all down to Edward. Depends how charitable he is feeling. Here we go. Got another mouth guard for her. Got another mouth guard. So that's going to be a mouth guard found somewhere in her armour. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. However, may also say that there is a lot of safety that goes on because HMB in New Zealand is considered an amateur sport, so everybody still has to go to work and look after their families the very next day. Safety is always a priority and paramount. We look after our fighters. Certainly, we've noticed the care and attention to detail going on as these guys are suiting up, and don't appear to be too many gaps in the armour. Okay, Edward's brought them back, and again. So now Sam has some catching up to do. There we go, a lot more confident. She's got some jitters out of her now. Does a strike to the shield get the point, or is that? No, it doesn't count. So she's got a strike. So Sam, so here is Maddie kicking to Sam's body. She's scoring. So Sam's really got to work harder with that axe. To get round that shield and find a contact. That's right. So Sam's best fit would be to try and strike Maddie in the head as hard as she can. Yeah. So then she went for a punch. Again, you get points for punching, but Maddie managed to get out of Sam's way. Maddie just looks a little more comfortable in the armour and a bit more manoeuvrable. She's getting those kicks up quite high and looks hard to defend. That's right. However, Sam wouldn't be here if she wasn't a proper fighter. So, and remember, everyone, this is Sam's debut. Yeah, great learning curve. Very big, very strong learning curve for Sam. Maddie's doing really well. She's not overtly challenging Sam, but she is keeping Sam at bay. See, just a kick. There we go. That's Maddie. She knows what she's doing. The chainmail provides protection similar to the armour. It's obviously more flexible. It is more flexible. It does supply some protection, but again, plate mail, while good protection, doesn't move as flexible as chainmail. Underneath their chainmail aventails, they've got gorgets, which is neck protection. So even though Maddie did take some strikes from Jess, that was illegal in that first fight that we saw, Maddie wasn't injured. However, Edward called it because it was an illegal strike. So this is the corners checking on Maddie and Sam. Pretty sure that round went to Maddie. Sam should be recovering her nerves. I think she's being talked to by her corner. I think they're saying, look, you're doing really well. We've got a plane over here. Yes. Can a fighter change their selection of weapons between rounds, or have they made a selection that lasts for the match? So this is the thing about ProFight. They can change, but once fighters get comfortable, they really do have their weapon. However, if you have a weapon breakage, you go back to your corner, and then you'll be handed something else from your. And does a fighter know about the other fighter's weapon selection before the fight? No. It's so tactically, you're on the fly. That's right. You have to adapt. There we go. So now Sam is trying to be defensive. This is not the best decision for her, so she's going for a grapple. All right. Potentially look at maybe to come under the shield there and land a body blow or two. That's right, yeah. Now Sam has to be aware that when Maddie is fighting her, that Maddie can tie her up very easily. She can wrap her shield round her axe. Now Sam, through her headbacks, I think Sam's actually got something going on with her visor. Her vision maybe. Her vision may be impaired. Yeah. Okay, so there's something happening here. Okay. So Edward is calling the fight. I think something's happened to Sam's vision. I think her visor has slipped down. Tell me, the armour is very customised to the fighter? That's right, all the armour is bespoke to each fighter. You can't go down to the shop and get it, so it's all carefully measured by craftsmen, and each one is modified to fit people who are wearing them. You have to be consistent with the authenticity committee. You can't just cobble together things. Still, there we
Great
go.
spirit between the
great
fighters.
Spirit, yeah, great hug. That's fantastic. So that fight is going to go to Maddie, no contest. Sam got armour failure. Sam's debut. Maddie's second fight for the day.
Good to see.
Next up, we've got Ian versus Francis. Francis is from Manawatu Armoured Combat. He's been fighting for. Oh, okay. So we're going to take a 5-minute break while the marshals, who again have been working really hard out in the sun with all of us. Next, when we join the live stream, we'll have Ian from Taupo versus Francis from Manawatu.
Thanks for Dana for having me along. I'll pop back a little later on.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you. Thank you to Cello Sport for all their support and helping making this a successful event today.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the New Zealand ProFight Qualifiers, Tournament of the Wolf, here in McEwan Park, Petone, New Zealand. Next up we have Ian from Taupo. He will be in the gold and black versus Francis from Manawatu. Francis is in the green and white. Edward Sadruk-Dinov is our Night Marshal, bringing the fighters to the middle. So this is the heavyweight category. I am joined by Josh from Cello Sport. Welcome, Josh.
Good morning.
All right, so we've got Ian, green and gold, versus Francis Ian in the gold and black. Oh, there we go. Immediately going for grapples. Immediately going for a throw. Nice throw from Ian. He's got 10 seconds to punch Francis. He's got to make sure he doesn't punch over the spine. Nice takedown. So there we go. Edward stop fight. So that is points to Ian.
So this seems like, relative to a few earlier fights, the quickest takedown that we've seen.
That's right. This is the quickest takedown, and you see that Edward had to untangle Francis from Ian before they could safely resume. There we go.
Is that a fighting style of one of these two, or is it desirable to go for a quick takedown?
Either way, you've got to get the points. Points wins in pro fight. So Ian is doing ground and pound. There we go. So now he has to release Francis. So that immediately goes to those points immediately go to Ian.
And 10 seconds when they're on the ground.
10 seconds when they're on the ground. So it means that there will be points awarded to Ian, and just checking Francis's gear, making sure again fighter welfare and safety is paramount. So that was those will immediately. What is happening here? All right, so it looks like there's some armour.
Quick repair job.
Yeah.
So how many points? Francis. How many points would that takedown usually allocate to the fighter?
So it is. So that's going to be 1 point to Ian, no points to Francis.
So it's just a single point that you'd get from any one takedown.
That's right. And so Francis. So Ian also did some finishing. So that's 2 points. No points to Francis. So it's a 0.1 must-win system. So we're running the. So it looks like that they're going to quickly swap out Francis's helmet. The time is ticking.
So how many fights do you think you've seen?
So do you mean over my career,
yeah,
Josh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, how many fights are we talking?
Okay, so I've been in the sport since 2017. So I've seen probably 50 fights. When I'm being a fighter myself, when you're not in the holding pen. So even though we fight each other, we're all still friends. So everybody in this sport is very tight-knit. It's a very tight-knit community. Everybody is welcome. Please join. If you want to join the sport in New Zealand, go to www.buhurt.co.nz. That's buhurt.co.nz. There are all the local clubs listed in New Zealand, up and down the country. You can join. No experience needed. Alright, so now that is the time. So now Edward is being kind to Francis's corner. They've swapped out his helmet and they're just doing the final, making sure that, oh no, swapping out again. Alright, so now we're down to the marshals. So this is critical for Francis. He's losing points. The other thing to note as well is that these folks are, even just standing around, they're wearing about 20 kgs of equipment. So even just standing around, they're still burning energy. So, you're making sure that fighters, when they are fighting, they do get looked after. It's a sunny day here in Petone, so you've got the sun beating down. That armour is heating up as well. So it's a sport that is you need a lot of heart to do. Everyone is welcome to join. Even if you don't join as a fighter, there's lots of things you can do. You can be a marshal. We always need first aid, event things. There's something for everybody in this sport. Josh, this is the first time you've ever seen the sport live.
It is. It's an absolutely magical day at McEwan Park today. It is. I've been incredibly surprised how strong some of the fighters are. Even just if you're doing a round of boxing, even at the gym, and then you look at the weight that they're carrying and the swords and the armour. Geez, it looks incredibly tough.
Francis and Ian set to go. Francis going for a big swing, miss, walks straight into Ian's punch shield. Ian going for another throw, watch his legs, he's going to try and throw, see how Francis has to make his legs wide base. He stuffed the takedown. That's good defence by Francis. So Ian's now going to try and there we go, take him down. So now he's got 10 seconds. Here we go. And Edward's going to be counting. Ian is scoring points on Francis. Francis is trying to defend as much as possible. And now stop fight from Edward.
I mean, watching...
And then even then, I'm not sure if you managed to hear that on the camera. Even though Ian had just punched Francis for 10 seconds, he still made sure and he said, "Are you okay?" So again, fighting but still friends.
Watching this live, I mean, I do not care how much armour that is. That cannot be a pleasant when you're on the ground there for 10 seconds. That is incredibly tough.
No, so Edward's now just going to check Francis. Is he ready? Francis in. Again, a lot of heart, people.
Wow, that's
good
incredible.
Fighters. Ian is doing incredibly well. As you can see, he's managed to take Francis down twice, ground and pound twice. Francis has to work really hard to catch up with his points if he can. He's leading with his head a bit, which means that he's at... So now
another
third takedown for Ian, and he's going to do ground and pound again. Edward's going to count to 10 seconds. There we go. That's the end of round one. That is clearly Ian's round. Ian independent, which means that he's not connected to any particular club. He's from Taupo. Francis getting to his feet very slowly. There we go, there's Francis. He's from Manawatu Armoured Combat. Francis still making his way to his corner. His corner will check on him. That was one of the clear examples of pro-fighting. Excellent form by Ian. Francis has to do a lot of catching up if he's going to win anything on the second round. Francis' corner is making sure that they did 2 armour swaps with Francis's helmet. So now they're making sure that helmet is bolted down. Again, safety is the main concern for fighters. Edward is calling the fighters back to the centre of the list.
How long do you get between rounds?
So you get a minute between rounds.
1 minute.
Yeah, so 2-minute rounds, 1 minute break in between, and that's where you do armour fighter. Second round, Francis in the green and white from Manawatu versus Ian from Taupo in the gold and black. Francis has a lot of work to catch up with good flying knee from Ian. Francis keeping his distance from Ian. He doesn't want to be taken down for the second round. Francis working to be as efficient with his defence as possible. Bringing Ian in. Ian resting a little bit because he knows that first round was his. Chopping, just trading blows. Ian charges Francis. Francis goes in. Oh, good head strike from Ian. Francis now trying to get as much as he can about the fighting. Ian's just keeping his distance. He knows that he could probably out-time Francis because he's already ahead by points. This is all on Francis. Francis's corner yelling encouragement at him, as I'm sure you all are in the live stream as well. Thank you very much to Cello Sport for making this all possible.
Francis looks out on his feet, doesn't he?
He does. He's trying his hardest. Ian, again, is just taking distance. Ian knows that he's ahead on points. Francis is trying his hardest here.
So at this late stage for Francis, he really needs to have a bit of a knockout to see if
He does, yeah.
How common are they? Do you see many of those?
Don't see many of those in the pro fights in New Zealand. There we go, that's time. This is the end of the second round. Francis and Ian go back to their corners. Their corner people are looking after them. Take the helmets off and go back to the centre of the list. And I'm pretty sure that we can call that fight for Ian.
I've been very surprised how much they've both used their shields actually as a weapon. I thought very much they'd be on the defence with them, but I've been surprised how many strikes they've each led with.
Yeah, so there's punch with a shield is 2 points, and as well as strikes to with their weapon. So this fight we saw that they both had punch shields and they both had falchions. Falchions are types of sword. The next thing is they get points for kicking, but again everything has to be done with force. You don't score any points with any soft blows.
And is that subjective based on the rules on the judges?
On the judges, yeah. The people in yellow are the marshals. They will assess and evaluate each strike. So fighters to the middle.
Round 3, here we go.
Okay, apparently there is going to be a round 3 here. This is very surprising, but this is what happens there is no predetermined winner. Everything is done as it happens. Francis really going. Francis trying to make up those points. Francis knows he's behind in points. He is just smashing Ian as much as possible. Ian is going for that grapple. Watch Francis's arm as he's going to get taken over. There we go. Francis let go of his buckler. Edward pulled a stop to the fight. The fighters don't see well with their visibility, so then Francis's corner helped him with his pick up his buckler.
So at any point, if somebody drops a piece that they're carrying.
Yep. So it's one of the rules. You have to be able to safely drop your weapons. So if you need to fall, you can fall safely in a break fall rather than your wrists out. Because then that's when you get hurt. The gauntlets as well, all the things with armour, if you take things against the natural rotation of a limb, that's when you can damage your opponent. So grapples are to be with the natural rotation of a limb, not against it, because otherwise the armour locks up. Okay, that initial burst of energy that we had from Francis, he's got to redo that again. And he knows that his corner is telling him. There we go, really good. Big strike from Francis onto Ian with the buckler, but will it be enough? Ian is just tying Francis up in the corner. This is list domination from Ian. So Francis is Ian is just holding, he's going for another throw again. Will he get it? Francis's corner is telling him to get out of there. He's trying to stuff the throw as much as possible. Ian is trying to do a hip throw. Francis managed to get under the shield. Good defence by Francis. He's trying to do a Hail Mary here. Ian is just wailing on Francis. He doesn't want any doubt that he's going to be having this round to him. Punches with the shields. There we go, time. End of third round.
Seems like a very smart fight.
And now hugs. So good fighting. Definitely you can say that see that when fighters fight, they leave everything in the list. They go in with all of their heart and all of their energy. They try their absolute hardest. It's a very nice hot day here in McEwan Park in Petone, and we're trying to replicate the international conditions as much as possible. So we're trying to put our fighters under combat stress. This is where they get to do their skills, they get to test their cardio, and we're very proud of our New Zealand fighters. Francis in the green and the white getting taken care of by his corner. Ian in the gold and black getting taken care of by his corner. Night Marshal Ian Sadroot-Dinov is taking the scores from the line marshals. They'll take their helmets off, and Edward will bring them into the middle and raise the hand of the winner.
How do you think the judges are going to score this?
I think that the fights will go to Ian. All power to Francis. He obviously fought really well, but I think that in this case Francis on this day was just outmatched by Ian.
Certainly in that first round, wasn't it? Ian came out firing. Francis had a nice comeback in the third, but
that's right. I'm pretty sure that Ian with that first round probably rocked Francis a bit, so the Ian on that winner that first round. So there we go. Edward brings them into the middle. He will declare the winner by raising their hand. There we go. Ian the winner. Edward takes him through. Okay. So that was Francis versus Ian.
a lot of respect in the middle there, though, wasn't there?
A lot of respect. Next up, we have Jess, who you saw earlier, versus Maddie. Jess won her fight against Maddie versus Sam, and Sam lost her fight against Maddie. This is Sam's debut. This is her first time fighting for ProFight, and Jess is the fighter from Wellington. She has done fighting before for about 3 years now. So again, this is all eyes on Sam to see how she does under the stress now. In between the break, I went and saw Jess, and Sam, and there was issues with her helmet. Apparently it was a borrowed helm, so while it passed the safety check, it didn't quite fit her properly, so they've had to do some modifications for her helm in the break, so this time she won't be fighting the equipment as well as the opponent, because that's a double jeopardy for Sam when you have to fight equipment as well as fighting your opponent.
So in a tournament like this, obviously it's Jess's second fight today. How many fights can somebody compete with in one day?
Depends how many fighters you get. So when you're international, you have to fight in your bracket. You do a round robin, and so you can have 6 or 7 fights at maximum in one day.
So it is a war of attrition at the end of a long day. That's for sure.
That's right. But you've done all your training. You're supported by your country. When you are doing fighting overseas, you've got a job. You go and do it. And that's one of the things that, I keep saying we're very proud of all our New Zealand fighters. We're a small country. We don't have the populations of other countries overseas. So our fighters do really try their best, as all of them do. And so we are still a beginning sport here in New Zealand.
Is there a powerhouse country that exists out there that's been renowned as...
Yeah. So
the ones leading the way?
That's right. There's definitely Russia is a powerhouse country in the sport, Ukraine, Poland. However, all countries, regardless of their abilities, New Zealand is always really happy to go up against everyone. We'll pick a fight with everyone, basically. Who'll step in and have a fight with us. The definite top brackets are Russia, Ukraine, and Poland. There are standouts in each field. So with the dual categories, you've got sword and shield, you've got sword and buckler, poleaxe, longsword, which is a two-handed sword. So again, you get 2 chances to represent your country, first in the individuals and then in the group fights. All right. Here we go. So Jess in the bright orange and black, Sam in the dull orange and black. Sam, she's chosen to fight with an axe again, and immediately she's got it caught on Jess's shield. So just like with the fight with Maddie, Sam has to work really hard to be defensive, but her axe is an offensive weapon. Jess scoring points with strikes. These strikes have to be fully formed. Sam is doing much better in this round as she does, so it looks like with that equipment malfunction that she had before, and I think maybe a case of the nerves, she's settling into it. Jess, good hit to the helm on Sam. 2 really good strikes. Those are definite point scorers. Jess going into Quinta to be defensive so she can immediately smack down on top of Sam's head. Strikes to the body, strikes to the head counts, as well as kicks, throws, and you've seen before in previous fights, ground and pound can happen for 10 seconds on the ground. Sam has her axe caught in Jess's shield. Sam has to watch that because then she can't do anything. So that's something that Sam has to learn, and Jess will be looking for. Again, a very technical fight between these 2 fighters. Brilliant hit from from Jess to Sam. That was a glancing blow, that won't be counted. Jess keeping her distance from Sam. Sam has to close if she wants to do anything with the axe. So far, Sam needs to work a bit more with the axe time. End of first round. Fighters go back to their corners.
So we've got quite a different weapon selection and shield selection here between the 2 fighters. Is that something that they would stick with as their choice going forward, or is it strategic based on the style of another fighter?
It really just depends on the style of the fighter. So each fighter has a preference for a weapon set, whether it's a 2-hander or a single-handed weapon. However, I think there's something happening with Sam. I think there's something happening with that helmet again. So this is a shame for Sam. Okay, so Sam has taken her corner. She's left the list. By Sam leaving the list, she forfeits. Okay, looks like Sam had trouble again with the helm. All right, so that's immediate win to Jess. By leaving the list, Sam has forfeited. Jess turned round ready to fight Sam, and now Edward's taking her weapons off her.
So what happened there? You think that was an equipment issue that she just wasn't able? Felt like it was impeding her performance.
So that's points to Jess.
Oh.
And we're just hearing off camera. Actually, Sam appears to be injured.
Sounded like a big strike into the chest area.
Into the chest area. So Jess is going back into the list. I'm not sure why. I think she just wants to... No, Edward's now explaining so now she's going to go seek medical attention.
So could she have taken a medical time out there, actually?
Probably not, because she needs to take all her armour off. Alright, so the 2 of them are going to go off and get medical attention for Sam. Alright, so the next fight coming up is Darian and Grizz, and this will be our last fight of the day. We were going to have another fighter, but unfortunately he did not meet the weapons check requirements, so he was scratched. So there'll be no Denny Ing will not be participating in today's qualifiers. So the last fight is between Darian from Tauranga Armoured Combat versus Grizz from Manawatu Armoured Combat. His parents did not name him Grizz, that is his nickname. His name is Aaron Blacksmith from Manawatu, but he is known in the community as Grizzly or Grizz.
So what type of you noted there a scratch in the fight as something happened at the weapon check. What type of stuff are they looking at when you come into a weapons check?
Yeah, so when you come to a weapons check, it's are your weapons of good quality, so it's not rusty, there's no burrs, there's no sharp bits, does it meet the weight requirements, does it meet the equipment requirements for the length and style of the rest of your kit that you're wearing, so you can't you can't use a weapon that would have been not been used with Eastern kit or anything like that. So the Authenticity Committee has a ruling on that, and then as well as the Technical Committee for Safety as well. So they ruled that the one fighter could not participate. So now we've got Grizz coming to the list. He's from Manawatu Armoured Combat, fighting out of Palmerston North, green and white, versus Darian from Tauranga Armoured Combat, with the pink and the blue stripes. Now these folks, this last fight is a lightweight fight, so you saw the really heavyweights, and then the super heavyweights and heavyweights, and now we're into lightweight. And lightweight fights are generally faster. The movement of lightweight fighters are much faster than the heavyweights. Still the same rubric applies. Full form strikes, kicks, punches, everything will be controlled by the Night Marshal in the middle, and points will be counted up by the line marshals in yellow along the line. After this, we won't be ending the live stream. After this fight, we'll be doing fun challenges. So those people that still want to participate and do some fighting, they can challenge another fighter. After the fun challenges, that's when we will do prize giving, and then we will end the live stream. So just because this is the last fight of our schedule doesn't mean it's the end of the live stream. Thank you very much for Cello Sport for supporting us, making this all possible. Darian in the pink and blue versus Grizz in the white and green. Into the centre with Edward Sadroot-Dinoff, our Night Marshal. First round fight. Straight into punching. Again, Grizz is seeking to punch Darian immediately and missed, went straight into the list. Round fake out to the hip on the falchion, and now they're looking to grapple. Bang. Now Edward has called a stop to the fight immediately. Safety failure. So Darian's helmet came off. So even though he had so as you can see, Darian's been told off by everybody for not having his helmet secured properly. So again, safety. So the fight was called to a halt immediately because safety is the utmost concern.
He actually lost points there that he would have been gaining had the fight been on the ground.
Correct.
That non-do-up of the helmet's going to hurt him in the
his points total is going to come down because of that. So again, it's not just gung-ho. You do actually have to have everything checked with safety. Edward's making sure that the helmet is secure. Watching the corner person, Maddie, who you would have seen in the previous fighter. Maddie and Darian are supporting each other. She is his corner person. So again, it's you don't need to be a fighter to be a corner person. We welcome everybody. You can fight, you can be a marshal, be first aid, come run events. There's always something for everyone here in H&B New Zealand.
Like all combat sports, it's incredibly skillful. It's not just a thrash about.
It isn't at all. All right, Edward's bringing them back in, and we continue for round one. Grizz versus Darian. Grizz in the green and white, Darian in the pink and blue. Immediate kicks. Lots of striking.
Oh.
Both of them sizing each other out. Darian going for a strike to the head while hitting to the hip at the same time. Edward's getting out of the way of the action. Don't forget that Edward is armed with his voice and his pole, and that's it. He has to move. Lightweights move much faster, and Darian going for a kick on Grizz, didn't win anything. Looking for a grapple, and what is happening here? So something has fallen off. One of the line marshals has said that something's fallen off. Darian has been sent back for another armour failure. This is not looking good for Darian.
So every time you get sent back for an armour failure, is that points that you get docked?
Points to Grizz, yeah. So
Grizz receive points.
Grizz
for
will
that.
receive points, yeah. To join a New Zealand club, go to www.buhurt.co.nz. That's buhurt.co.nz. We've got clubs up and down the country, currently competing in this New Zealand Qualifier for ProFights, trying to make the New Zealand team called the Steel Blacks, going over to the Battle of the Nations, held on the 2nd to the 5th of June. 2022 in Romania. We've got people from Tauranga, we've got people from Manawatu, we've got people from Wellington, and we have an independent from Taupo. Okay, continuation of round 1, back again. Darian from Tauranga Armoured Combat versus Grizz from Manawatu Armoured Combat. Darian has a lot to catch up with all of the points. Bang! And now, good throw, good clean throw. 10-second ground and pound. Darian onto Grizz. Edward's counting. Grizz just has to protect as much as possible. There we go.
Wow.
So all of those. So that Darian there. Yeah, Grizz is understandably annoyed.
He's not happy with himself.
He's not happy with himself. So all of those armour failures that Darian had, he just made up for it with a throw. Good clean throw. Back at it again.
Oh.
Grizz now needs to catch up with points. There's 10 seconds left in the round. Grizz is getting frustrated. There we go. Stop fight. Go back to their corner. Each fighter will go back to their corner. They'll be checked. And then round 2 will happen. So that was for a moment there looking like Grizz's round quite comfortably until Darian did that excellent throw, good clean throw, and then good clean ground and pound for 10 seconds. So that looks like round 1 will go to Darian in the pink and blue up against Grizz in the green and white.
Great first round. Neither looked like they fatigued at any great level, did they?
No. So again, each fighter has a thing that they're good at, and each fighter has a weight grade that they fight at. I also noticed that there's been no swapping of weapons. So in the case that you lose your weapon or a weapon breaks, your corner will hand you another one. So all fighters, while they have a preference for weapons, they must be proficient in all weapons from HMBIA that's allowed, because you never know what you'll be handed by your corner. It depends on what's available on the day. So remember, New Zealand's a long way from Europe, so quite often we can't travel with everything that we'd like to. We're always looking for funding. Patron of the violent arts, seek appointment here. We particularly have to watch all of our baggage allowance, so sometimes we don't take the range of weapons. We're like, okay, here we are, round 2, Edward's bringing us back. Last fights of the scheduled ProFight qualifiers. Grizz now wants to make up the points from that first round. List dominance by Grizz, pushing Darian into the corner. Darian doing a good strike to the face of Grizz with his shield. Oh, Grizz got caught. Seems to be a thing with Manawatu. Again, the spinning falchion strike.
Oh, great.
Good strikes by Darian to Grizz. Grizz is trying to find his equilibrium. Again, another attempt at a spinning falchion by Grizz. Darian's finding his groove. There we go, straight to the face. Darian has to watch those punches that they don't fall into the too far down, that they don't go into the throat, because remember the neck area is prohibited. It is hot here in Petone, McEwan Park in New Zealand.
Wow.
So the fighters are also fighting the heat as well as each other.
There's been a lot of stand-up in this round.
A lot of stand-up in this round. Good strikes to the head, to the helm by Darian onto Grizz. Knee strike.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So we've got a check.
there was a number of heavy blows came in
lots
there.
of heavy blows. Technical win for Darian. So Grizz, I don't think he's injured. I think so. His corner people are just going to go and check on him. So he found himself outmatched by Darian. Even though Darian had the equipment failures in the beginning. That first round was definitely Darian's, and now there we go. Edward declared Darian the winner.
And it was that quick.
It was that quick.
He just absorbed a lot of blows.
Grizz is still being seen to. They're now calling over the medic to make sure that Grizz is okay. Edward is inviting the medic to assess Grizz.
I bet he wants out of that armour right now.
One of the things that is a trick in our sport is that we have to know how to take armour off very swiftly. So putting armour on is all care, but when you take it off very swiftly to make sure that somebody's okay, you just throw things to the side. Okay, Grizz looks a bit hot and bothered. Still on his knees, still in the list, still being assessed by the medics. Or the medic. But he's laughing.
Does have a smile on his face.
He's got a smile on his face.
Seems like he's
There
about
we
to
go.
get to his feet, doesn't he?
He looks like he's recovering. So this ends the end of the schedule. So we had Maddie versus Jess. That was our first fight. Jess won that. Brooke versus Ben. That was our second fight. Brooke won that. Sam versus Maddie. And then Maddie won that fight. Ian versus Francis. Ian won that fight. Jess versus Sam. Jess won that one. That was a technical win. And then Darian versus Grizz. We just watched that, and Darian won that fight. So while the end of the schedule for the ProFights has come to an end, the marshals will go and organise things for prize giving. I think actually, just rescind what I just said. They just announced they're ready for the prize giving.
Nice hug in the middle between the last two fighters. Seem like they've...
Again, beating up but still friends. Friendship. Calling all fighters to the list.
Go to the driving range.
Right, Edward's preparing to award the medals to the fighters for their hard work here at the New Zealand ProFight Qualifiers. So Brooke is receiving his medal for super heavyweight. Brooke from Manawatu, first year fighter. Ian receives heavyweight medal. So Ian from Taupo. So Darian receives his medal for the lightweight. And Jess receives the medal for the women's heavyweight. Well done to all the fighters. It's been fantastic out here. They're now receiving their medals and they get congratulated by everybody and they wave to the spectators. Edward's now saying to the fighters that because this is a qualifiers, that this will be the end of the live stream very soon. Edward is going to call the fighters back in to give some feedback, but it looks like that they've decided it's going to be too hot to do the fun fights. So everybody's kitting down. Thank you very much for joining us here in McEwan Park for the New Zealand ProFight Qualifiers. Thank you very much for Cello Sport for supporting us here, making this live stream possible. Also, New Zealand looks forward to seeing all of our friends, all of our Boohurt buddies at the Battle of the Nations, 2nd to the 5th of June 2022 in Romania. My name's been Dana Bergen-Wyman. It's been my honour to be your commentator today.